It was RCB's night against Lucknow. Could it be RCB's season? They continue to pick up these wins in spite of not having Virat Kohli contribute, in spite of not having AB de Villiers this season. This is a team that is putting in the performances, even if they lose tosses, even if they lose early wickets. And not for the first time, they've managed to outsmart their opposition. Game of cat and mouse in those middle overs, which eventually Josh Hazlewood has had a big say on. We said that in our mid-innings show. Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 9 5G. But at the back of Hazlewood's wickets and initially Faf du Plessis' runs, RCB have managed to win by 18. Sanjay, Manjrekar and Ben Cutting, to look back at it, it seemed like a game that could go down the wire. There was Stoinis and Holder in the waiting, Sanjay. We said Hazlewood would make a difference, and boy, he did.
He did. And you can see today, top-class international performance coming to the party for the IPL. Josh Hazlewood, I mean, every batter out there just felt that rise in quality. The challenges got greater when he came into bowl, and just sharp choice of deliveries towards the end. Excellent captaincy as well, staying in the moment, got 4 overs of left-arm spin, and then Maxwell bowled 3, because today was a pitch, and the dew didn't come in too heavy. It was a pitch for the finger spinners who bowled quickly. And Wanindu Hasaranga just given a couple of overs. I like when captains stay in the moment and don't get too swayed by, how the rating of that bowler is before the game begins. And, Faf du Plessis at the start. So 2 top-class international performers coming to the party, and they were the difference between the 2 sides.
Yeah, you go with that, Ben. There's one thing that Josh Hazlewood was superb. We almost predicted that. You called that too. On the other hand, Faf du Plessis had a great night, not just with bat, but as skipper. 2 overs to Hasaranga, Hazlewood in those crucial overs today. It seemed like the perfect plan for RCB.
That's right. They're starting to look like a formidable lineup, getting through towards the second half of the tournament. So I'm excited to see where Bengaluru are going to end up at the back end, because I think the 2 teams we saw tonight are both going to be in the finals, but I'm pitching Bengaluru to be right up there with number 1 or 2.
I'd love to pick your brains more on the success of Josh Hazlewood now. He had that first game against CSK was his, he didn't really have a bad day. Shivam Dubey had a great day that night. He's put in 2 really good shifts, Ben. And now he's doing exactly what you thought Hazlewood should do if you're picking him as a big money overseas signing. Getting you a wicket with the new ball. Quinton de Kock is a huge wicket. And then coming back and doing the job at the death. Not something necessarily be associated as Hazlewood's area of expertise in T20 cricket. There's something that's changed about Hazlewood the bowler, isn't there?
That's right, and you touched on the death aspect as well. That's something he's really expanded his game on, because he's not really been renowned for his death bowling in previous years gone by, and certainly probably more of a test cricket bowler or one-day cricket bowler. The thing that excited me about tonight and how he bowled, and for any young bowlers out there, is that he kept it very, very simple. He bowled to the big boundary, which was clearly one side of the wicket. So he hung it out there on the wide line. He bowled his leg cutter as the change of pace, and he went to his Yorker and his hard length, and that was it. There was no mystery balls, there was no funky fields or anything like that. It was very straightforward, very simple, and he executed it perfectly.
I'm very happy that we've got you on this show, Ben. And of course, I don't want to keep going on the Pat Cummins point. I'll come to Sanjay in a second, but we've seen them in 2 nights now, both quality test bowlers. What's, if you know them personally as people, what is it that makes Hazlewood, perhaps as he is, how he thinks about the game, how he thinks about what he's going to bowl, what makes him get the edge right now over someone like Cummins, who's still not been able to figure out a way to bowl at the death when things are tough?
It's tough to compare the 2, because, if you look back the last 12 or 24 months, the shoe was probably on the other foot, where, Josh probably wasn't being a part of the IPL at all from many aspects, and Pat Cummins was bowling really well. So that's just the ebbs and flows of form. They are 2 very different bowlers, where Josh is more of a hit-the-wicket bowler. He's obviously developed that leg cutter slow ball that sort of drifts out of the back of the hand, out of the side of the hand with that seam up. And it suited that wicket tonight, because the way the seam came out, it sort of hit the seam, then stood up from there. And he picked up 2 wickets exactly like that. Whereas Pat Cummins is more of the off-cutter slower ball, into the wicket, fire the Yorker in. And he's probably got 10 or 15 kilometres an hour of pace on him as well, which certainly travels on those sort of wickets over there.
Sanjay, to break down Hazlewood's success today?
Nothing more to add. I think Ben is spot on. We are also comparing Pat Cummins when he's had a couple of very bad nights. Was Josh Hazlewood, who seems very keen. Even when he was playing for CSK, looked very keen to make a mark. Let's see how it pans out. But at this particular moment, you would think that Josh Hazelwood is a bowler who can do everything. And the other, formula that I keep looking at is how captains bowl their bowlers. And if you have somebody like an Avish Khan in the first half, bowling 2 overs in the power play and then bowling the 17th and 19th, we had Hazelwood doing the same, bowling the 3rd and 5th and 17th and 19th. So these are not only bowlers in form, but bowlers who have the full range. So the captain feels they're going to be effective with the new ball, and boy, we need them in the death as well. That's the greatest compliment that you can pay to a seam bowler. And Avish Khan, currently in his prime, is getting that kind of endorsement from his captain and Josh Hazelwood.
Yeah, he's almost displaced Mohammad Siraj as an option at the death, which you thought Siraj was for RCB. Sanjay brings up the CSK story last year. He only played in the UAE leg, Ben, but I wonder how much of a difference that's made to Josh Hazelwood, the T20 bowler, part of a championship winning side, having played with the likes of MS Dhoni. I mean, you've won an IPL title. Do you just come back feeling better about your chances the next season?
Definitely, and it's still so fresh in the memory either as well, because usually we're 12 months apart from the IPLs, but this really it's only 6 or 7 months. So he played a lot of cricket in that time where he could keep grooving his white ball skills, straight into the T20 World Cup, the home series back in Australia, and then straight back into the IPL from here. So he's had a lot of white ball bowling under his belt, which he might not previously have had in other seasons.
4 wickets for him. I'll focus just on the last of those. Now, it says 18.2 Stoinis bowled Hazelwood. Should it have been 18.1? And how much has the irritation of the non-wide contributed to the eventual wicket, Ben? Take me through that from Marcus Stoinis.
I mentioned at the halftime show, T20 cricket is one of those games where the last person to panic generally wins the game. And those 2 balls showed it to a T. Stoinis is one of the most powerful batters in the world, but even he got sucked into being dragged wider and wider. But that just wasn't those first 2 balls that Josh Hazelwood bowled that did it. That was the previous 18 overs of bowling that he watched from the sidelines of guys bowling slow and fast out on the wide line that dragged him out there. And to Josh Hazelwood's credit, he set him up perfectly. Regardless of whether that previous one was a wide or not, he was always going to go full and straight that next one and try and blow his stumps out of the ground.
I think still a big moment though, because 34 of the last 2, we could see it happen. If you give a 15, 18 run over, you have Harshal Patel, who's not quite had a great night. Suddenly there's a different game. Firstly, that wide call, was it a big deal? Did the umpire get it wrong? And did it contribute at all?
Not a game changer, but I wish the umpires now don't get sucked into this new trend. The moment you see a batter, making a premeditated move towards off stump, and then they either leave the ball or they play a shot. But if the distance between the batter varies and the bat and the ball is great, it's still got to be called wide. So keep it simple. Just watch how much distance is between the batter attempting to play the shot or leaving the ball. And there was huge gap between that ball that was left alone. It was a wide in my head easily. So just when umpires get into this thing where they feel, okay, there's a new trend coming in, and if there's any premeditated movement towards the off stump, I'm going to be very lenient with the wides. Keep it simple. Just look at the distance between the bat and the ball finally, wherever the batter is.
Okay, fair enough. Would you like to extend on Ben's point and just maybe the approach that Lucknow had to try and get big runs today? How much of the conditions were playing on their minds? We had a Badoni going at 13 of 13. One of his 2 boundaries was him trying to hit that ball of Siraj, which he managed. Did they somewhat overcomplicate the game today?
They had to. I think by that stage they had to. The big wicket obviously was Quinton de Kock, because if there is space and bounce in this kind of a pitch, then Quinton de Kock is the ideal batter. He's somebody who loves space and bounce. A knocker's delivery down the leg side reviewed,
Yes.
KL Rahul, so that was a shock. Manish Pandey, I saw him, play, especially Hazelwood. You could see that there was a difference of, quality of the batter where he was and the bowling that he's facing. So Gautam Gambhir might want to have a look at it. After that, Krunal Pandya may have played one of his finest IPL innings in a long time. So they were there trying it, but just love the use of the bowlers. Excellent captaincy. When you have a left-arm spinner bowling 4 overs in a match like this, and he bowled even when a left-hander was out there, Krunal Pandya. Maxwell, he's not your 3-4 over bowler, but he bowled 3 because he felt that the batters, he bowled 2. He felt that the pitch had something for the finger spinners. Wanindu was, resigned to the sideline. So if you think on your feet, which is what MS Dhoni does.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really one of the big features of today's game. The captaincy, even KL Rahul, mind you, in the first half was brilliant with captaincy.
Yeah, Ben, if you'd like to perhaps pick off from Sanjay's point, did you see that as a great example of instinctive T20 captaincy? I'm sure there aren't a lot of pre-match or pre-innings chats in the dugout which say, nah, Hasranga is not going to bowl his quota of 4 overs.
Exactly right, and that's Faf's expertise right there. Is that he's playing the game that's in front of him. He's not relying on previous games or games coming up. He's just playing exactly what he sees, suiting to the conditions and the matchups with the batters that are out there. I think he did very, very well, as we always expect from him.
Wonder what the more decisive period of play today was, and who you'd pick perhaps as your player of the match. Would it be Faf for getting them to what you call, Ben, was a score above par, 15-20 runs, which was the difference in the end? Would it be Hazelwood for just, the superb night that he's had? What's the most decisive period of play today for you?
It's a tough question, but I'm going to have to go with Faf just because of where they were in that power play. They were 2 for 7, they were 4 for 60 odd. So to peg it back and put those runs on the board that he did from that pressure he was under in the power play, that won the game for me.
You agree, Sanjay?
Absolutely.
All right, as simple as that. Faf du Plessis, wonderful. Maybe a quick closing comment just on RCB. Is it all falling together? Like we've discussed, Virat Kohli is not quite come to the party just yet. First season without AB de Villiers, new captain, new franchise. Hasaranga, big money signing, Harshal Patel, big money signing. They seem to be getting it together now. Are they really the team to watch out?
Faf du Plessis is in form.
Yes.
And you're not somebody who's going to get runs today and not get runs again in the next 3-4 innings. So he's going to carry his form, which is great, which means they can bear the burden of Virat Kohli's lack of form. Eventually, if the time comes and he really struggles the way he got out today, they might want to push him down the order and have a bit of class there as well before they have to go to some of the other batters. So that is something they could try. But for the moment, the batting looks good. Maxwell is proving his value, bowling his overs as well. Seam bowling has got a bit of class there. Harshal Patel, ever reliable. Hazelwood takes it to the next level.
Yep.
And they've got 3, spinning options. And the pitches are starting to turn a little more frequently now, regularly, as we get more into this IPL on these 3 venues, mostly 3 venues.
Ben, some good wins. They've beaten Rajasthan, they've beaten KKR, Delhi too, teams that look good this season. I mean, this is a formidable team coming together. It's all coming together for them.
That's right. And to be fair, I'm watching from the other side of the world and I can see how formidable a lineup they are. It seems like a different Bangalore setup, the way they're gelling, the way they're all playing together than has been in previous years. And the important thing to note is that most of their players have all chipped in with performances at some point in time, and we're not even at the halfway point of the tournament yet. We're still waiting for Virat to score some runs, which is the scary thing. So if he starts chipping in with his runs, everyone else keeps doing what they have been doing, I think they're a number 1 pick for me.
Yeah, well, it's not. Ben Cutting is not the first panelist on T20 Timer that have said it. Ravi Shastri said it could be their season. Ben Cutting saying it. Sanjay Manjrekar saying this is a team that's looking good too. Points table will reflect that. 5 wins now for Faf du Plessis and this new look RCB. So they go level on points with table toppers Gujarat Titans. The Titans, of course, still have a game in hand, but that's a decent net run rate. Lucknow remain in the top 4. At least Jason Holder's mitigated some of the eventual margin of defeat. So they stay there for the time being. Before we leave you, let's have a look at the Maruti Suzuki Driving School poll of the day. Question asked at the start, which bowler would take the most wickets in this evening's game? Harshal Patel got a couple eventually, the wicket in the last over 2. There was Ravi Bishnoi, there's Avesh Khan, and of course those of you that sent your own picks, or maybe the others. At the end of the day, if you didn't pick Josh Hazelwood, you'd miss out on a day like that. Bishnoi had an off day too. So Harshal Patel with his 2 wickets stands out on that. That's pretty much it. Join us tomorrow. It's another big game, Delhi Punjab, which has been shifted from Pune to the CCI. So lots of runs you can expect. Big thank you to Sanjay Manjrekar.
Thank you.
Also to Ben Cutting. We'll see both of them very soon again on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket Info T20 Timeout, powered by Eco 95G.